We all get excited about new fragrances. And as fragrance lovers, what do we do when we get a new fragrance? We spray it on the hand and we smell it like this. That's what this video is about. You're actually possibly ruining your experience with so many fragrances. They're not really meant to be experienced that way. Even though it's a great way to do it, it allows us to dissect them and experience them more intimately. We all know that some fragrances are more welcoming than others, and that can be subjective, but I have 11 fragrances here that for different reasons, maybe with some overlapping reasons, they're all possibly deterring if you do smell them like this. So please, just rule of thumb, let every fragrance waft. Give it a spray, let it breathe, let it come to you, or maybe waft it to you. I don't think you're gonna regret that. See how you feel about it first in the air. If you're intrigued, yeah, come in closer. But don't let that first whiff be like this. You don't have to do it for me, do it for you. Let's dive right into the list. No particular order here. This is a fragrance that I've had a lot of you guys write in the comments. I can't believe you like that, I hate it, or I tried it on your recommendation, I don't like it. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of you guys did what I said you shouldn't do, and that's why you had a bad experience with Creed Royal Oud. Now there's so many of you out there who love this as much as I do. And again, I didn't always love it, but I can tell you that when I first smelled it, I did smell it like that. And I was like, oh! And it smells like you're just burying your nose into a tree. It's just dry and woody and kind of stuffy. So let it breathe. I noticed that when I would revisit my decant, I would let it breathe more and more. I'd say, let me get away from it. And every time I would get that whiff, I'm like, I'm interested in this. It started to allure me and I started to kind of become addicted to it. Like I had to get closer. Let your fragrances come to you. This is one to do that. Super dry and woody, very elegant smelling if you let it be. Otherwise, it just smells kind of pervasive. So that's one example. Creed Royal Oud, great refined, gentlemanly, woody fragrance, but smell it right. Now here's one I know if you got your hands on a decant and you sprayed this up close, I want to say 1 out of every 6 people are gonna like this fragrance when they first smell it. And those odds go down, if you can imagine, when you smell it up close. Talking about Amouage Overture Man. This is not a cheap scent. I did experience this one from my friend Corbin at Northwest Scent, and he let me smell it blind. It had been drying down on paper for a while, so I got its scent, you know, maybe 20-30 minutes after it was sprayed, and I was intoxicated. I was drawn in, but it was edgy. I already knew, like, you know what, this stuff is a lot, and I'm glad that I had smelled it deep in its dry down and not up close. And I still have yet to truly spray it and smell it like this. I don't want to, because although I love this scent, I feel like it could easily rub me the wrong way, even as fragrance that I like. That's why I use the rule of thumb. Let it come to you. This is definitely one. This is boozy, but it's also animalic, dry, warm, spicy, ambery, sharp, smoky, a lot going on here. Not for the faint of heart, but an incredibly elegant fragrance if you dress it up, and you can learn to love it if you smell it right. Overture Man. Now those of you who like this next one, you might be surprised to see it on the list. It is unusual, but many people wouldn't consider it that strange up close because it is mostly fresh. This is Ganymede from Marc-Antoine Barrois. And yeah, it's a mostly fresh fragrance, but it is fresh in a slightly unusual way. It is metallic, mostly metallic and fresh with a bit of this kind of suede leather like feel, but it's unusual in that it has immortelle being this kind of culinary maple curry-ish smelling flower. I think it smells utterly intoxicating. I do happen to like immortelle, but not everyone does. So if you that's gonna be what it is. And you're gonna write back, I hated Ganymede, it was too weird. Please consider that may be why. But I love this stuff. This next one up is brand new to me. I just filmed my first impressions video on this. I unboxed it, smelled it, and told you what I think. I haven't actually given it a full wearing yet because that was just like 2 days ago, and it's still pretty warm, and I'm saving this for the cooler weather. But this is coming from Tom Ford. You can check out my video here called Ébène Fumé. I think some people are saying it's Ébène Fumé. This is smoky, spicy, warm Palo Santo wood and resins. A little bit of a violet leaf freshness when I first smelled it. As I said in the video, it reminds me a tiny bit of Dior Fahrenheit, the Parfum version. It's a little bit darker than the original, so more towards the Parfum, but that's very fleeting and it's just a facet. It's mostly resinous, slightly sweet and ambery up close, but it is quite smoky and woody, but soft in the air. Now up close, it can be a bit much. Not the most challenging fragrance, but if you're not typically a fan of dark, woody, smoky fragrances, then this one is not gonna change your mind by smelling it up close. It's a very beautiful fragrance. I'm still getting to know it. Doesn't smell completely unique to me. It doesn't blow my socks off. It's not my favorite Tom Ford, but I'm still getting to know the scent and I will wear it and probably grow to love it even more. But if you're gonna try it, again, take my advice. Don't smell it up close right away. Let it breathe. Up next, we have another weird one. Again, one that you have to have a pretty specific taste to enjoy this, especially up close. You've gotta love licorice. Not everyone loves licorice, and this is very licorice forward. If you don't like it, then you're not gonna love this up close. From Kilian, we have Verte, which I think means like happy hour or green hour or something like that. This is kind of an absinthe fragrance, part of their liquor line. Absinthe, so that Artemisia, green, sweet, spirity, boozy quality, but a lot of licorice. You got some woods in the background. Very licorice heavy. If you don't like it, run. Okay, well, you're gonna run because this is gonna
make your nose fall off.
If you're gonna try this, and I do recommend it because it's a very unique take on a great fall type of profile. It is boozy, but in a different way, which is really cool. Do give it room to breathe or it will strangle you. Licorice can do that. Verte. Up next, we have a fragrance that I absolutely love. And again, you might be surprised to find it here. I love this stuff, but I have seen reports of some of you trying it and saying it was too much for me, or it smelled like prunes or something very, very intense. And that is what it is about this fragrance that makes it dangerous, I use that word lightly, to smell up close, right at first spray. From Penhaligon's, this is Halfeti Cedar. This is an intense fragrance. Although I don't find the profile to be remotely challenging, it is thick. It is so dense. The dry cedar wood mixing with the dried fruits. It is pruny. It is like this rich, dark, pruny, woody fragrance that can smell stuffy. It's like you're in your grandmother's house and she has these old drapes and you can smell that mixing with the wood of the home and some weird potpourri. I can totally see that vibe being had if you smell this like that. Let it breathe. Super elegant. You don't need to spray a lot either because again, it's very intense. Love this stuff. I'm glad when I first sprayed it, I put it out here and let it come and I was drawn in. I think if I would have done otherwise, you might be seeing less of this fragrance, but wonderful stuff. Got a designer fragrance here from the house of Cartier. This collection can be a little bit divisive because of its prominent use of cumin, a very dry and slightly stinky spice. It can be a little bit BO smelling, as people like to say. This is from the Déclaration line. This is the Parfum flanker. The same could apply to the original, but I do believe this is a little bit more edgy than the original. Taking that fresh, spicy, cardamom, bitter orange combo that is so iconic from the original, invigorating, but not in the most summery of ways. It's a very refined and luxurious type of freshness. But mixed in here, we have deeper, rich leathers. We have this fir balsam quality. There's something rich and balsamic about it. There's something a little bit sharper about the fragrance, and especially the cumin, which is amped up here. It's warmer here, it's deeper, and it's gonna be a lot if you smell it up close. So I'm warning you. I love this stuff, but don't spray it on your hand and smell it like this and then come up to me and say, how could you love this? This is disgusting. If that's where you're coming from, please check yourself and smell it as I am recommending and then see what you think. And if you just don't like it, then you just don't like it. That's fine, but give it a chance. Déclaration Parfum. This is a challenging fragrance from the house of Roja Parfums. I'm surprised I like it because I remember hearing about people buying this and them being like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can wear this. And then I was terrified. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna like that. I've heard that almost unanimously, but I got my nose on it and I'm like, you know what? No, this is actually, yes, it's very challenging, but it's really good. Fetish. Because I had already been warned about it, I did not dare try smelling it up close. I let it breathe in the air. This is animalic leather. I think you get castoreum mixed with some pretty animalic leather. So it's kind of stinky, funky going on here, but with this very luxurious leather note that is pretty prominent. There's obviously a lot more going on here. I think there's a dry oak mossy feel to this as well. Not for everyone, but definitely one I love to dress up when it's cold outside and I don't want to spray too much on. And if I'm going to be around Grace, I make sure that I spray it at least 20-30 minutes before she could ever come close to me, because I want it to be dried on the skin. I don't want it to grab her by the hair, because this thing is intense. So if you're gonna try this out, again, you already know, I've said it many times already in this video, you know what to do.
Or at least what not to do.
Just a few more here from the indie house, Francesca Bianchi.
Are you Italian?
This one is one of the first loves I had from the house. I smelled almost all their fragrances when I got a discovery set, and not all of them are what I would call accessible to everyone. They can be pretty animalic and deep and musky and leathery and mossy in a lot of ways, but this one is probably the freshest offering, even though it's still pretty deep and rich. Called Etruscan water. Definitely reminiscent of like being near the Mediterranean, maybe near like a forest or something. You get a deep mossy woodiness that is borderline animalic, but it is made fresh, maybe by way of some citrus. There's something kind of bitter and tangy and mouth-watering about it when you first spray it on. Not ultimately all that aquatic or salty smelling, but there's something about it. It's almost like an ocean air feel wrapped up in here. A very challenging take on a fresh fragrance, and again, one that I would not recommend smelling up close at first spray, because it is also very intense. But check out the brand, good stuff. Got one more designer here from Gucci. You probably knew this was coming if you know me and you know the challenging fragrances that I like to talk about. This is one that I've seen quite a split of people who say this is absolutely disgusting and people who say this is a masterpiece. It's just funny how that can work. Who's right, who's wrong? Nobody. And everybody. This is Guilty Absolute. Leather, cypress, vetiver. This is dry, earthy, woody, kind of medicinal smelling, unapologetic. No sweetness here, no brightness here, just dry, authoritative leather and woods. This honestly might be one that you might be put off by even in the air. You might smell it in the air and you're like, no, this smells like I'm in a doctor's office. It's possible, I'm just letting you know, but all I can say is that your chances are even lower of liking it if you smell it up close. Again, if you want to give it a real shot, give it a real shot. Or you'll just know that you hate it and you'll move on. That's fine too. Gucci Guilty Absolute. The final fragrance in this video. This is a fragrance that for a while I've been trying to get Grace to like this. I've only ever showed it to her in videos. I've sprayed it on paper, I've let it dry down, and she's never liked it. And that doesn't really happen that often, especially with fragrances that are in this category, this kind of dry, woody, dark, smoky category. She tends to like these, but this one, not really, but she's kind of coming around. I'll explain. Incident Diplomatique from Jovoy. One of my favorites. I wore this the other day. Such a classy scent, but not in an everyday kind of way. This is gonna sound weird. It smells like someone's jacket who's been drinking whiskey and smoking cigarettes all night.
That doesn't sound good to me either.
But for some reason it smells amazing. It's ashy, it's woody, but there's something almost wet about it, like a boozy quality that I don't think is actually there. There is some citrus in here that maybe mixes with some things and gives this kind of juicy feel to it. Not overly sweet, but a bit of a brightness that kind of comes across as like you've poured liquor all on top of a leather coat or on top of wood, and again, you get an ashiness, like a smokiness. It's just super classy. I actually did have Grace smell it just from the atomizer the other day, and she was like, I actually like that. And I'm like, you don't say.
Weird, buddy. You're weird.
So I gave it a wearing the other day. It wasn't around her, so she never smelled it. I was loving it though. But I'm gonna give it a wear this fall around her and see how she feels, because again, I still have yet to give it that full wearing and to not have her smell it up close, because that's the only experience she's ever had with it. So I'm gonna have her take my advice too and have her only smell it in the air. And she knows this, but hopefully I've hammered the point home enough to where you get it. Rule of thumb, don't smell any fragrance up close at first spray, any. Let it come to you. I think you're gonna enjoy it more. And then if you do happen to like it up close, somehow you'll enjoy it even more than that. So you have nothing to lose. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me. I wanna know if you've tried any of these fragrances down below. Also at this point, you've probably already seen that my brand new fragrance from Zaharoff, well, my collaboration with Zaharoff, Second Soul, a follow-up to Brass and Soul, is now available. If you missed the video explaining everything you need to know about it, watch it there. Really proud of that video. It took a lot of work, but love how it came out, and I think it'll tell you what you need to know. So anyway, links for everything will be down below. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.